It really feels like a conspiracy. But before you make a final judgment, you definitely need to look at things around you, because some things doesn't make sense when you just look at like, okay, globally, what if internet is going to go down? And some studies shows there can be solar storms which would be creating these outages. But you look at one of the biggest countries with respect to the population, and you see this shutting down the internet to shut up critics. So if one country does this and you go to Google and search about these, it's not only one nation, a lot of others are actually using this tactics, right? So when you come down, you actually see a lot of interesting stuff, because recently you see this one, Ripple releases a prototype version which enables users to use XRP ledger payments without internet. Now that's just one part of it, because when you go to the other side of this, we know Swift is the biggest network with 11,000 financial institutions, all those stuff. And right now, you see some parts of the world is slowly disconnecting from it. Because of that, sanctions, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. If you don't abide by this, we're going to do this. That kind of stuff is really happening. And when you see the payment area is moving, it really is moving because there is a lot of stuff happening in the world. This is Bloomberg Economics highlighting Singapore's sovereign wealth fund sees global inflation as biggest threat to its portfolio. Now, we know Fed and others were talking about this like, that's just, it's going to go away. It's just here for some time. It's not that big deal. But right now, people do understand that. And on the other aisle of this, you actually see people calling for a lot of different stuff. But this one is huge, because the IMF is coming out with that call saying comprehensive global crypto regulations is needed. So digital assets is getting the attention, and whether you agree or not, people are showing this one. Say this is from US, right? Florida might become the first state in the US to allow businesses to pay taxes in cryptocurrencies. Now, previously, I thought there were, other states like Wyoming saying, you can actually do this. So, a little bit of conflict of information there. But at least it's a positive step in the right direction, right? So, as you look at this, you kind of see a lot of change in the fundamentals. You kind of see the utility perspective. When there is utility, now I agree, the price is going down, it's consolidating, it's going down, it's consolidating. No much of a bullish momentum as you want or as you would like. But if you are a value investor, you look at the protocol, you look at the adoption, you look at the brain power being recruited, you look at how majority of the factors are working except the price. And if the price is comparatively lower than what the value shows you, that's when you say, okay, that's undervalued and I'm going to buy it, right? If the price is now $5, you would say, okay, maybe I'm not sure whether it's going towards that fair value. Maybe my ROI would be less, even if you say it's going to $50 or $100. From there, it's comparatively lower. Whereas consider it's going to say $10. And from now, you have good ROI. Now, say it's going to reach $20. You have enormous update, right? So these kind of stuff is really important, because when we are watching this, say shout out to Crypto Area on this one, because this really shows what's happening in US. Former Commissioner Joseph highlights, he was actually saying this. Now, this actually shows like, currently the SEC chief is at a position where, the last one did something wrong and he's trying to cover it up, and things are not going well, because if they are to come out and say BTC or Ether is securities, it's going to hurt a big market. Now we are about $2 trillion. Now, yesterday when I was having a one-on-one conversation with one of my members, he was, having the same opinion. SEC is kind of, making decisions, 5 people, 10 people sitting around and making decisions for $2 trillion market, like it's just $200, right? So which doesn't make sense, because the entire globe is adopting this technology, and you see people are moving from Swift, the traditional payment ecosystem, because they don't want to get sanctioned. They want to stay decentralized. Now that's all coming in. Now you go to the price action, you look at the market. Okay, we are in green, a little bit of green moving here and there, but you do have to understand, see, this is what you see in the stock market. We have been doing this for some time now. Yes, we had a little bit of consolidation from 2018 all the way up to 2020, where we had that major dip by the end of that year. But since then, we've been skyrocketing. Now, at the same time, if you go look at the other side of this, what else was skyrocketing? There was like only one stuff, which is the debt. So governments are issuing debt, meaning, the central banks are dropping debt, a lot of it, to corporates. So mainly when you get that $1,200 check, a big chunk of the actual stuff is going towards the corporates, and they're using it for the stock buyback. So you do see these kind of stuff happening. Now, as this happen in the market, it's super easy for you to ask yourself, do you think it's overvalued? Do you think it's overvalued? Again, before you go in and do anything stupid in stock market, look at each company separately, because there would be companies like, say, a Meta for now, or Amazon and others, which would have the utility, which would be, people are sitting at home, the lockdowns are coming back, that kind of stuff, and people are ordering stuff online. Okay, fine. You look at Microsoft, you look at Apple, and you're like, okay, people don't have that much job. They are losing, or people are being laid off, and the pocket is being drained, right? The inflation is at 40-year high. Woo, your purchasing power is going down, so it doesn't make sense to buy an new Apple product or a new Microsoft product in that kind of stuff. You're not going to buy a new laptop, new this, unless you are financially educated and you are at a stable position, right? So all this comes into that market. And then you look at Tesla, which is, technological revolution, blah, blah, blah. But you do have to understand, at one point, there would be like a three-wave structure, then you're moving higher. You may have a little bit of upside, but is it worth it? You always weigh on your downside and your upside. Because if you're looking at Tesla, yes, they came up with that idea, that new battery technology and everything. But understand, the supply chain issue with China is still there. The competitors now in the EV side, you see BYD, where, Warren Buffett is putting his money in. Now, he's a guy who puts in money for 5, 10, 20 years, right? Not for 2 months or a year. Right, so that shows the level of competence is rising with different companies. So the competition is going to strengthen. So now you look at different alternatives in the globe, and you understand, okay, that's something where you don't want to put your money in. At least for me, I won't be putting money into that. Whereas I come to these markets in crypto and I see like, okay, there's a lot of potential in it. It's just starting out. Now that's the same with gold, silver, and other stuff. So let's actually go through the charts and discuss what this actually means and how long can this current green momentum in the crypto market can continue. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. This is to give you an idea of what's happening now. Look at the XRP-BTC on a 3-day and you see this. We had moved inside this one. We've been coming back down with lower highs. But if you look at the support, we came back to this in last November before we pumped. Now, after that, the SEC came in. We came back down. Now, once we broke above that, we've been coming back to that particular level, and buyers were kind of, okay, fine, I'm going to buy this at this level. That kind of stuff is happening. So now, it's really important that we bounce, and if we bounce, we have the moving average. So first you need to understand is this is correcting in a parallel line, which is a correction, so your impulse direction should be able to continue. And if you are doing that, that means you're going to retest this previous high. Fine. So that is for XRP-BTC. Now you move on to XRP-USD and you see this. You are having this at a time when the MACD tried once, failed, twice, failed, and the third time it seems that it's going to cross to the upside. So if we are going to do that, yes, we do have a resistance above us, which would be the moving average there. Now, for the time being, you are using a 200-day moving average here to get that macro perspective on a daily, right? So if you are able to break through that, you can move towards that $1.3, $1.4 mark. So you're waiting for a breakout in the RSI, you're waiting for a cross in the MACD, and as those happens, price should get some more momentum. You should be able to continue higher. Now, when you look at the entire Bitcoin market and the entire crypto, you are like, okay, fine, Bitcoin is slowly making an Adam and Eve pattern, which we discussed yesterday before we actually got this big candle, right? We had this bull flag day. We were actually waiting for this. Now we highlighted that in the Patreon, highlighting these are the updates for these coins, blah blah blah, and we went through this and we were highlighting this is a possibility, and I personally think like this can happen. And when you come onto those charts, yes, these charts actually giving you an outlook where you're like, okay, fine, possibility is there when you're like 48k, and you're like, okay, fine, you are nearing a short-term breakout. You come into different charts and you're like, okay, we are crossing to the upside. That's a 12-hour chart, and yes, it did happen, right? So how do you actually make sure you get towards a point where you understand this? It's just the price, right? You look at the price fluctuation and you are plotting it and you're understanding, okay, how long can it continue? Mostly we are going to have resistance from that 54,000 range towards the moving average. At that time, possibly it would be around 55. So say 53,500 towards 55 would be resistance. So if we are able to break through that, that's great. Now, why do I say that's heavy resistance? Because when I come to the Bitcoin dominance, I see this. We came lower, we bounced. Great. Now we remained in the same area and then we broke below. Fine. Now on a horizontal pattern, you are like, at the bottom of that support range. But when you plot this, you kind of see like, okay, we broke below. Possibilities are you're going to come back here, retest the breakout, and then go back down. So if we are to go down, that definitely means what we discussed here is going to work, meaning this is going to act as a resistance and Bitcoin may still remain in that area and consolidate, say 53, 55, come back down, and this would be the support at that time, which would be like 50k, like we've been doing that in the 40,000 range, right? So now you take the same viewpoint and move on to XRP. This is what you see. We have the cross on a 4-hour, the MACD is crossing to the upside, the RSI trending up. Now it's all short-term good. But unless we move above this 0.9 mark, we have resistance. And here, that 200-day moving average extends all the way up to 0.95. So you have a range where you need to move above that, say around $1, to erase some kind of bearishness from the market. Because as you zoom out, you're like, okay, fine, we do have the moving average as resistance around that corner, say 0.95, $1. And if you're breaking above that, that's great. Why? Because this is support. Whenever you bounce from the support, you have a lot of upside. It's unlike you're bouncing from here, you're retesting the previous low and coming back down. Whereas at the support, your actual top would be extension of these lines, right? So you go back into the chart and you look at this. It's not that hard to view that. You come into this one, we have talked about this for a long time. Anyone can actually see this. So if you are able to bounce from here, on a weekly, your moving averages are below you, you're doing fine, and the bounce can actually take you all the way up to that resistance mark, which shows there is a lot of potential to this. Because if you're buying at $1 or $2, saying it's going to reach $10 or $20, the same asset at this price is giving you more ROI. So it just depends on how you look at the market. Because when you go into the market, say for example, instead of looking at the BTC dominance, you can definitely go in and check the altcoin market cap. So as we've talked about this in last couple of videos, we are still in that. And if you remember, last time we were talking like, okay, this is the horizontal previous resistance, now it's support, so that's resistance turned support, and it's coming back and it's bouncing. So if we are able to bounce, we need to bounce and break above this one. And as we do break from that, we are going to definitely get some momentum and we are going to continue rallying upside. So guys, that's strong, because if the market is about to do that, you don't want to miss that. So if you are receiving value, please do hit that like and subscribe button, because that supports the channel a lot. And if you want these kind of updates for a lot of different coins, we are running a Ask for TA session now, where you can jump in and ask which asset you want for your portfolio, because not everyone would be having the same asset in their portfolio. So if you manage to have same asset, fine, but if you have variety of different assets, these kind of session allow you to ask for different coins Now we do that regularly, couple of times a month. Now it depends on which tier you are, based on how you get involved and all, but yes, you do get to see most of these charts in almost all the tiers. So if you want these kind of updates for your portfolio, you can definitely look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.